After an absolutely wild third night of finals, the fourth morning of prelims was much more reserved. Everyone was kind of doing just enough to get it through, and almost everyone did make it through. There was a couple of exceptions. We're going to run through the recap of the races real quick this morning because there isn't a crazy amount of drama to talk about, but I do want to make sure you're kept up to date with what's going on out in Singapore at the World Aquatic Championships. If you're liking this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out my website for some awesome sales on some great training programs and my raw speed membership. We started off this morning with the women's 50 backstroke, and other than the fact there was a tied 16th, including one of the favourites for at least a medal, Lauren Cox from GB, everyone again you would expect to make it through did. Kylie Mass was first, 27.4. Kat Burkhoff was joint third. Regan Smith was fifth. Ingrid Wilm was eighth. You kind of get in the picture. Mary Ambre Moulet was 13th. Nastya Gorbenko was 15th. And as I said, Lauren Cox ended up in tied 16th. She had a swim off at the end of the session, and her 27.9 heat swim was dramatically improved upon with a 27.6 swim off. She won the swim off by 0.7. It wasn't close. She'll be back in the semi-finals. And that was really the only close miss in that event. I guess there was a couple of other close misses. Olivia Nell, who medalled at the World Junior Games in a 27.8, ended up going to 28 plus to not make it back. But to be honest, the time she went at World Junior Games would have still been towards the back end of the semi-finalists. We then had the men's 100 freestyle, which is, in my opinion, one of the blue ribbon events for the whole meet. It's definitely one of the most exciting. It's definitely one I don't know who's going to win. I don't know if it will be David Popovich, who was first this morning with a 47.4, or the world record holder, Pan Janla, who was at sixth with a 47.8. He floated that 47.8, just so you know. Like, he went out in 23.2. He just floated it. He was cruising. We've also got Jack Alexi back in tied 10th, 48.0. Patrick Salmon had some good relay splits, 48.0 as well in 9th. And the Russian Igor Kornev definitely looks like he knows how to move for 100 freestyle. He was third in 47.5. I probably shouldn't miss out Cole Chalmers, second in 47.4. To make it back, though, was 48.3. And to be honest, if you're not going 48.3 in the morning, you're probably not going to be a contender come tomorrow night. And again, Andrei Minakov of Russia missed out. Gui Kribe made it back. Jacob Mills, the young British lad, did miss out. He went 48.5 off his best of 48.0, but a great debut. It's the same as what he led off in the relay final. But the point I'm making is there's no crazy misses, unless we're talking about defending world champion in the 50 freestyle, Vladislav Bukov, who went 50 point, well back. Actually, the only miss of note is Italy's Carlos D'Ambrosio, who swam in the 200 free final last night. He led out the relay on night one in 47.7. He was well back in 48.6. So yeah, he's someone who could have even been in the final come tomorrow night. The men's 200 IM took everything down a notch. And I wonder if the athletes had a gentleman's agreement, like, hey, look, it's day 4. Let's just all keep it real cruisy. Or maybe they identified that they really just could keep it real cruisy. I say that because the world record is 154.00, and there was just 4 guys this morning: Leon Marchand, Hubert Koss, Shane Casas, and Kazuki Makino of Japan. Japan having a fantastic meet, who went under 158. Everyone else was 158 plus, which is pretty wild. In fact, it took a 159.5 to make the semi-finals in the men's 2IM. So barely having to crack 2 minutes. In fact, 19th place was 2 minutes plus, with Tom Dean being back in 23rd, the most obvious big miss. We then had the women's 200 butterfly, which again, I mean, at the Olympics, we normally only have 15 or 16 competitors. So at least there was more than 16 people. Someone wasn't going to make it back. But even then, like, you look at 16th, 2:10.1, and you look at 17th, 2:11.6. It wasn't even close. 16th was a second and a half of missing out, like in front of 17th. There's a couple of 207s, 2 in fact, Summer McIntosh and Brittany from Australia. Uzidi, the 12-year-old, was in 5th. Again, there's not really much to report because no one really had to do anything crazy to make it back to the final. And that leaves us with the mixed 4x100 medley relay. And that's where we actually did get a little bit of drama because there's only 8 spots. The difference in a prelims race when there's a straight final versus when the semi-finals is completely different. When the semi-finals, in almost all events except the 50s, you can just kind of do your thing, just make it back, reserve a little energy. Whereas when it's straight finals in like the 400, and longer, you have to get into the heats. The relays, you have to get into the heats. I think it makes such a difference. Scrap the semi-finals. It just Getting rid of semi-finals would make heats way more exciting and also streamline the whole meet. Let's talk about the misses in the mixed medley relay. Now, I think it was a very clear, optimal team for the Americans in this race. I think they have to go Regan Smith, Josh Matheny, Gretchen Walsh, and finish with Jack Alexi, which they obviously didn't do because it's the heats. Why would they try in the heats? They went with Keaton Jones, Campbell McKeon, Tori Husk, and Simone Manuel. Basically, they went for not their best man in every one of the strokes, or their best order. I mean, they went men, female, which is the optimal order on paper. Keaton Jones was 54.2, which probably is not really going to cut it. Campbell McKeon was 59.0, much better than his individual. And then Olympic champion in 100 fly, Tori Husk, went 58.4, and that is the damning leg. You don't come back from that. And even though Simone Manuel was a very solid 52.7, they ended up back in 10th for the second reserve spot, 0.3 adrift of making the final. That is not good. That kind of sums up America's meet right now. And I don't want to point fingers, but 54.2 and 58.4, they're not going to cut it. They still beat GB, who were all the way back in 12th. They did have the young 2008 born Max Morgan split out his first sub minute. He went 59.8, so that's a notable split. But yeah, they still didn't make it back. They were 12th. And Peter Kotzier did get up and try and carry his team through to a final in this mixed medley relay, but South Africa were back in 18th. Anyhow, let's talk about the teams that did make it. Italy, Netherlands, China, Australia, Canada, Japan, Russia, and Poland. And this is what I'm talking about. I said 345 to miss from America, 344.5. 342.1 was first. That's the kind of the full range. And let me just give you a couple of notable splits. Verberti was 58.6 on the breaststroke, and Christian Bachicho was 52.6 on the backstroke. Again, using an optimal men, female team. Then we had a 49.8 butterfly from Josh Liendo. Wow. Okay, well, he's clearly fast. Miron Livenstev, who was in the 100 back final last night, nearly cracked 52, went 52.08 on the lead-off. Remember, times don't count. You could set the world record of leading off a mixed relay, and it won't count for both men and for women. All right, well, that was this morning. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. I'm going to do a live final show at 12 in the UK or 7 in Singapore, so make sure you come and tune into that. Me, Megs, Nate, and Kurt. And then I'll be doing a finals recap. I have sales on my website. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.